Q and R Code listeners. So nice to talk to you again. Riley and I had a couple, I guess, at least 3 weeks of not recording because we batched a little bit and, as you know, did shorter episodes the past few weeks. But we hope you enjoyed that, and let's see what happened in those episodes. I guess we had some 420 episodes. So if you wanted a 420 update, yes, we did break our streak and participate in that holiday like any patriot would. And that went very well. We also had some other big things happen. For example, my twin Riley out of the country because she was in Iceland visiting her sister-in-law and her boyfriend. So that was an epic trip that we are going to need to hear about next week. She and Brayden are currently on the road back home to Charlottesville, Virginia for the last time. They're arriving back home from the 24-hour drive that they do between Sean and my house in Colorado and their house in Virginia, because my twin's husband Brayden is graduating medical school. The accomplishment that is beyond me, but good for you. 2 thumbs way up, Brayden, because yes, I appreciate having a doctor in the family, and yes, many of us family members do already bother him for medical advice. And I've had to check myself and remind myself, let's make sure, which I have done, make sure that we check in with Brayden before we're just hanging out 1 second and the next lifting up our shirt to say, what does this mole on my back look like? So anyway, we need to respect the professional and personal boundaries, but he is a very giving person, and he also is very interested and passionate about what he's doing. So the good thing is he's pretty amenable, and thus far he's never turned me down and said that it wasn't a good time to ask him a medical question. So 2 thumbs way up to that guy, like I said. And Sean and I just got back from Bryce Canyon Mule Days, which was a week full of celebrating mules. And we were surrounded by, I think there were 100 mules there almost, and some really good mule people, and got to check out Bryce Canyon in Utah, which was the first time for us. We have been through Moab before briefly, but other than that, haven't seen a lot of the Utah Red Rock stuff or those other parks, and it did not disappoint. It is very cool. There is something so cool about red cliffs just towering over the earth. It's crazy, and that was such a special trip. So that's what I'm going to be covering today in a catch-up episode, and then we'll have to talk to Riley about Iceland, like I said. So today, it's solo, just me, Quinn, and thanks for joining. Let's get into Bryce Canyon Mule Days. So Sean and I went there to begin with because Ty Evans, who you've probably heard me talking about, is a mulemanship clinician. If that is a foreign word to you, it's like horsemanship, but it's for a mule. So basically just learning training skills as a human, not necessarily, Ty doesn't advertise his clinics as teaching you how to train your mule or horse or donkey in our case, because we bring all 3, but more so just, I don't know. It is about teaching the human. It's not about training your horse. He's not doing the training for you, but he's teaching us really principles and a method that is rooted in the buckaroo style horsemanship that stems from, well, in the US stems from like California, and then there's a lot of it in Utah as well. Thank you, vaqueros. So yeah, a lot of that comes from the vaqueros, but it's just a really cool, resonant type of mulemanship and horsemanship that just has worked really well for Sean and I the past year more so, is when we've gotten into more of like this mindset and philosophy with working on building our relationship and training our equine. So we were stoked to get some more continued education, going to clinics. As you know how Riley and I feel about pursuing education or pursuing your passion, I am very passionate about learning how to better myself as an animal steward. And for me, reading books is one thing, and I absolutely love to do that, and that contributes a lot. But going in person and seeing you're with your animal that you're working with, and then with other people who are also problem solving, working with their animals. And it's also just a community, like-minded space to do that. I will say it's different clinic to clinic wherever Ty goes, because some of the locations where he hosts clinics, he has more return students, and some, like he said, Bryce Canyon, just because it's a Mule Days event that all sorts of different people end up coming to, has less consistent students of his. So in our clinic, the minority of us had been students of Ty's before. There were a few, and the majority hadn't. But it's still cool because usually people are really open to learning Ty's method. At least in my experience so far, people are really open to hearing more about this perspective of horsemanship and mulemanship. But then also you're connecting with people who already know this same mindset and method and principles that we all embrace in, just having a lifestyle with these animals. So that was really special. We had 3 days in a row were the clinic days, and every day Sean and I were there, which we were there for a week. We got to ride Jimbo, our mule we picked up at the beginning of January, and Ghost, my Mustang, that I've had for 7 years, which is pretty crazy. It was such special riding because where the event is hosted, Sean and I pulled up because it's on the map from us. It's a 9-hour drive, and of course when you're hauling 3 equine plus, you need stops for diesel and checking on the animals and everything. So we didn't get in until it was very dark. When we finally found the place, which made me wish I had been slightly more prepared to be very, very specific with the host of the clinic to make sure I knew exactly where to go, because the map did not take us to the exact location. It took us to the town, but we did have to do a little bit of midnight driving back and forth to figure out where it actually was, but we did it. And so we felt bad. Thankfully, we were on the really early end of showing up, so only one other person was set up there. And we tried to be as quiet as we could, getting everyone unloaded and put in stalls and getting our camp set up, which for us was just, getting our trailer space. We don't have what you would consider a living quarters trailer because we don't have anything like a sink or a toilet or a shower. We just basically have a large scale open tack room where we have a mattress over the overhang of our gooseneck trailer, and that's where we sleep and get changed and everything. And then Sean, who's the sweetest and is master chef whenever we do camping or like horse camping or adventures like this, he sets up our little kitchen in the back where we haul the animals. So he gets that area like a little swept up, and then we have our dry storage cooler, our actual cold cooler, and then a table with the black stone that Sean just whips us up the most delightful camping meals on. I will say I did not cook us one meal, and Sean cooked us meals every single day, and it was awesome because he's like, why don't you go, do whatever, because there's another clinic that I wasn't participating in, so he's like, you can audit that clinic, or there's also a huge, very well-known mule sale that goes on there at the end of the Mule Week called Chrome in the Canyon Premier Mule Sale. Last year's high-selling mule that it's said to have broken a world record was $90,000. Yeah. Yep, you heard that right. And this year, drumroll, the new high-selling mule at any sale, at least in the United States, they said worldwide, I don't know, there was debate about that, sold for $100,000. I got to lay my eyes on that mule, hang out with it, talk to the owner. Congratulations to them. That is a major accomplishment, and oh my goodness, I can't even imagine how feral I would be if I had $100,000 to be spending on a mule. It's a good thing I don't have that kind of money, because, well, you know what? I actually think it would be a really good thing if I did have that kind of money, because to just be able to buy a mule like that has the amount of miles and training under its belt and that type of foundation, that's what dreams are made of. It was really cool because we got to watch the quote-unquote sifting process for that mule sale. So they, in the arena at the event, do all sorts of little tests to check and make sure that these are the premier mule sales that they want to stand behind and offer. So they have to, pass a certain number of little exercises and challenges that they do, or that they ask of it. What I meant to say and got carried away about us pulling up in the dark is that it was that much better for us to actually arrive and pull up in the dark, because then when we woke up to sunrise the next morning to go feed our animals and saw the view, we were like, wow. Yep, we did not know. We knew it was going to be beautiful leading up to there, but honestly, it got dark by the time we were getting like right up toward Bryce Canyon. So we had seen so many beautiful views on our road trip, but just hadn't seen that we were right in Bryce Canyon, basically. And so we woke up and we're like, oh my gosh, there is a sunrise that is beaming light on these epic red cliffs behind the property. Turn around and look the other way. Just gorgeous and amazing. So that was an excellent thing to wake up to. And then, like I said, there was just one other person that was there when we arrived. So the next morning I was out feeding my equine, and this lovely stranger introduced herself to me, and little do you know, it was so sweet. She was there with her grandma, which, how cool is that for you and your grandma to bring your mules together to go riding all week in Bryce Canyon National Park? Yeah, that's the type of grandma I want to be, if anyone's curious. But anyway, we had parked just a little bit away from them so that we wouldn't be making a clatterbang while they were trying to sleep and we rove in the middle of the night. And they were like, oh, come over and be our neighbors, because this is, they'd been there before and they knew how the setup went for trucks and trailers. So I got to immediately befriend my neighbor, who turned out to be just such a lovely gal that I'm so excited to be in contact with now. Um, an awesome mule woman who has packed for the Forest Service and just is a cool person. And that was a big theme of the week, is that we just got to meet a lot of really cool, down to earth people, mule people for the most part, which what they say is true. And mule people, there's a lot of good ones out there. In these few mule events that we've gone to, it has just been such a positive and helpful and encouraging crowd. So I love it. And I'm not saying the horse community isn't like that. Of course, first of all, there are way more people that own horses than own mules these days. But it's just different. Like, there's just a different camaraderie around the long ears. And they are awesome animals and awesome people. And I thought it was a really cool thing to be at a place where we're taking the time to honor the mule. Like, that's really what this Mule Days event is about, is just putting the mules in the spotlight, appreciating them, admiring how much they can do and the community that they bring together. And I don't think I've ever seen that many mules in one place in my life. That might be more mules actually than I've ever seen in my life. And Ghost was he was the only horse that you could see when you drove in. There was one other horse that came that was down tucked at the end of the property, but other than that, it was a sea full of mules, a couple of donkeys, and a horse. But it's sweet. It's really cool to be in a setup like that where everyone's doing their own style of camping. A lot of people had a lot more updated trailers than us, but I love our sweet horse trailer that we inherited from my grandparents. It's actually the horse trailer that we grew up with. Like, that's the horse trailer my grandparents have had since we were babies. It came out the year before me, and I'm so sentimental about it, and it's such a cool trailer. And doing something like this, not that it's like, oh, this is so rugged and tough, but you're camping and don't have access. Well, we had a porta potty there, but don't have access to showers or a sink. And some people do, because some people have nice living quarters, but for us, it definitely feels like horse camping. And it was also the weather. There was some really beautiful weather, and I try to not be bothered by quote unquote good or bad weather. It's like, it's just the way the day is outside. But I will say, there was some serious dusty wind and some heat and some rain. There was a lot of different weather going on, but oh yeah, that dust pelting you in the face from the wind, that got my skin dry. And it just feels, that type of stuff, it's no big deal, but it is a little bit of tough living, and that type of thing makes you appreciate your belongings so much. Like, oh my goodness, the way I appreciate my trailer, that I have something to get in from out of a storm or out of a little more harsh weather. The way we appreciate our saddles for so many hours that we spent in them this week. All of my gear we appreciate. The animals we appreciate so much. And of course, we just feel so grateful to spend the kind of money that it takes to do this type of a trip and make this happen, and like pursue not only the continued education for ourselves, but also pursuing community and relationship building with our animals and getting to see more of the Western United States. It's just a package tied with a bow of my dreams and the things and values that are some of the most important to me. So it was really special. It was sweet too because there's so many families and little kids, and I think that's a really cool event to be involving the family and, the next generation in, seeing these awesome kids riding mules. I'm like, you guys are good. Some of them are really good riders as kids. It's like, yeah, you got to learn this when you were so little and just have spent so many hours in the saddle. I'm grateful that I got to ride starting from babyhood, but we rode so much less than, families that have the horses or whatever, mules, on their property, because for Riley and I growing up, our big time spent with horses was at my grandparents' ranch, like 6.5 or 7 hours away from us. But we got to do that a few times a year, which is really lucky and special. But these kids, I just love watching them. There was a mule rodeo, and one of the events was monkey on a barrel. So down toward the end of the arena, there's a barrel set up, and a kid, typically, I'm pretty sure anyone could sign up and enter, but usually they chose the kids to be the monkey on the barrel. And so someone comes loping down the arena on their mule and then picks up the kid from the barrel and lopes back and gets their time. But that was a fun event to watch. There were some people that were more, would kind of try to jump off and get behind the person in the saddle and like be sitting on the back of the horse or mule. Pardon me, because they were all mules, a mule only event for any of the competition stuff. But some of them were tiny little tykes that you could tell their dad has practiced this with them. And he'd come loping by the barrel and just grab them under the arm, and the kids just bouncing on the side of him on the side of the saddle, just racing down. Cowboy hat flies off. It was so cute and funny to watch. But lots of good events, and there was a concert the last night, which was so awesome. First of all, $20, where it's like, you know what, thank you so much. And 100% of the concert proceeds, I believe, go to the cancer fund they have there. And you just get to set up your camp chairs in this beautiful arena, and there's the stage, and your backdrop is to die for. It was awesome. Yeah, we're feeling really lucky coming off of that event, and just I appreciate my animals and this lifestyle so much, and my partner. I'm very grateful to have him. Without him, I would know a lot less about pulling a truck and trailer than I do, and I would not have been having the delicious fried potatoes and eggs for breakfast every day. So, it was an overall incredible trip, and really one of the trips that just makes you remember how fortunate we are and what's important to do with your time in life. So thanks for listening. I'm so grateful to catch you up about this, and I'm just so ready to spend more and more time with my animals. So life is good. We will talk to you next Tuesday. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.